Are you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the CASHLOREN show. I am your host, America's Truth Teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN show.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service, it's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Well, Donald Trump keeps continuing to stack up the wins for the United States of America, as he had one of the biggest weekends and really one of the greatest 6 months, maybe ever in the history of the United States of America, as he had huge trade deals in EU this weekend that even fake news networks, they have to admit, has done really well for the United States. The EU was upset and angry as some of their leaders called this a lopsided deal and how they gained nothing in Europe, and yet they gave the United States everything. See, this is what happens when you have a leader like Donald Trump, who created the art of the deal and has shown America what happens when you put us first and you learn how to use leverage to gain for our state, the United States. Finally putting our country first instead of just wandering around aimlessly like Joe Biden would done. Or could you imagine if Kamala Harris had actually won the election? None of these wins would be happening right now. And this starts out, let me get to my right page here, as these trade deals and these peace deals and also these budget deals that happened over this weekend, when you can't even really take a day off. As the last Sundays especially have been huge victories for the United States, and major stories seem to come out. Now this one, summer of 2025, it's probably going to be one of the greatest summers that the United States has ever experienced, especially at least in my time, as Donald Trump, as he campaigned, and he's doing everything that he said he was going to do. Right? He said he was going to secure our border. He has been securing our border. No illegal immigrants are being released into our country. Donald Trump then promised also that he was going to deport illegal aliens. He then used the big, beautiful bill in the recirculation package to then bring over $150 billion to ICE and the deportation agencies to get all these illegal criminals out of the United States of America. And this is very popular with the United States citizens and our voters, no matter what fake news tries to lie to you about. As they are panicking now, as this is actually gaining more power, more popularity. Donald Trump goes up in another 4 points. Even after the fake news networks, they keep telling you how Donald Trump is just so bad and how his administration is going to tank this country and how the economy is going to crash. Even after the last administration, Joe Biden, printed trillions and trillions of dollars and created massive amounts of inflation. And the most ironic thing about the Joe Biden administration is that if he had just done nothing, if he had just let the economy open back up, it would have came roaring back. But he thought, I have to do something. And then printed all that money that didn't need to be printed and caused all the skyrocketing prices. And on that I found absolutely hilarious is what the Democrats always try to do is that every time they screw up, they try to blame Donald J. Trump for the mistakes that they made. And so the Democrats' official page, they posted a meme where they had all the prices skyrocketing. And they said, see, Donald Trump did this. And then Donald Trump's team immediately highlighted the prices and said, this was Joe Biden. And you look, it was from 2000 to 2024. So they didn't even bother to remove the years. I mean, this is what happens when you hire for DEI. And this is what happens when you hire for equity over equality. Is that's the poor work you get. But I can't imagine why the Democrats are so low in popularity. But also what he had promised was he was going to bring our economy back. And one of the things that Donald Trump promised right from the get-go was he was going to use tariffs to do it. You see, tariffs work. Tariffs have always worked until our federal government decided to just stop using them to send all your jobs and all your manufacturing overseas and then lie to you about the fact of cheaper prices. Did you know that we used to not have an income tax at all here in the United States? Okay, how would you like to pay zero income tax again, like past generations did? Now, if they didn't pay income tax, then how was the federal government paid for? I mean, the money has to come from somewhere, right? I mean, you can't have the government just print money into oblivion. In fact, we used to have on a gold standard. So if there was no income tax, then how all these federal agencies exist? You know what's ironic? It was tariffs. We paid for the federal government with tariffs. And that's how you used to pay no income tax. And that can be done again. Because what happened in the opposite? Right? They got rid of tariffs. They sent all your jobs overseas and they promised this great, cheaper future. But what actually happened, all the experts lied again. As your jobs went overseas, they grew the federal government. And then as they grew the federal government, they needed more and more and more tax money to pay for these career useless people inside the federal government. Thus, it goes off the gold standard. And then the Federal Reserve, and then they have all these entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, and all these other government programs, these welfare states that cost a lot of money. And so thus more taxes. And then as the federal government grew and as your jobs went overseas, then other countries started flooding our country with their products. And over at TikTok, I just saw that repost. Thank you so much. As they flooded our system with products, they promised us that everything would be cheaper and free. But none of that was actually true. What is cheaper for you now than what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Ask your parents how much things cost. And I don't just mean like a burger used to be like $1 and now it's $5. Or jeans, used to be 20 and now they're 50. That's not only what I'm talking about. What I mean is the percentage of the money that you have coming in. As inflation has greatly outpaced income. So groceries used to be 10%, then they were 50%, then they're 20%, and then 50%. And then you're out to choose which groceries you're going to buy every month. See, that's what they took from you. When the economists, when the so-called experts, when they lied to you about how economics work, when these guys, they're not experts at all. What they are is just like the Democrats and the fake news networks, they are activists for the Democrat Party. And as they continue to lie to you, we were able to continue to expose them. And that's why they pushed so hard when Donald Trump came back in office. That they never, ever thought would ever happen. So where they start with immediately with, the egg prices, right? Egg prices are skyrocketing because Donald Trump. See, it's all the same sentence in the middle, but they put Trump in the middle and they blame him at the end. And we find out it was Biden's administration that killed all the chickens that then led to the shortage of eggs and then made eggs go up. And then, of course, when eggs went back down, what did they do? They completely ignored it. And then back in April, It was the stock market. Remember that? Oh, the stock market's crashing. Oh, this is the end of the earth. See, we told you. We told you shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump, but now you did, and now you're paying the price. Except what happened now in July. Now the stock market is already hitting records, and we're only 6 months in. Experts were wrong again. And when they're wrong again, what happens all over again? They just move on to the very next same hoax. And where they go on next with the tariffs, right? The tariffs are going to crash the economy. The tariffs are going to ruin our way of life. You're going to experience a depression like would make 1930 look like a kid's sandbox. But that was a blatant lie too. As the tariffs did the exact opposite. They brought in billions and billions of dollars. And then when they brought in hundreds of billions of dollars now into the United States, now it's also forcing all these other companies to start doing deals here in the United States to bring all their manufacturing back to the United States when it never should have built. Okay, there's no reason for cars not to be built here. There's no reasons to design and make clothes here. There's no reason not to have manufacturing here in the United States. The only reason that it ever left is because you were lied to about how economics work. And so when all these other companies and all these other countries, when they use tariffs to keep our products out of their country, yet we didn't use tariffs back, and they shipped in with cheap labor-made goods and flooded our markets, but things never got cheaper for you. They got more and more expensive. I mean, am I wrong in anything I'm saying? Of course not, because I've been proven right here on the Cash Loren Show to be right 98% of the time. The other 2%, I accidentally asked my wife for her opinion, though I'm not perfect. But this, do not doubt me for a single second. This was always the plan all along, to shrink the private sector and to grow the federal government, to make you dependent on big government. Because the Democrats and their uniparty friends, they want power and authority to rule over your life, as they see the government as God. And they want to use that power to force you to bend to their will. But now most of America, luckily, has woken up to it, and thanks in large part to independent creators. And so Donald Trump comes back when they never thought he ever could, and he implements his tariffs, he secures our borders, and then look what's happening now. More and more of their lives are being exposed every single day. What else do they tell you about tariffs? How they're going to cause inflation. You remember that lie, when there is no way for tariffs to cause inflation. Because tariffs, they can't cause inflation because there's only one way inflation can be caused. Inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. And the only way to create that is for the government to print money. It's the only way. That's why Biden, when he printed all those trillions of dollars that didn't need to be printed, see too much money chasing too few goods, thus inflation went through the roof, and your cost of living skyrocketed, and all the interest rates went way up. The other thing they lie about is how tariffs are going to be a tax on you. Again, another blatant lie, because they only tell you part of the truth. A tariff is not a tax on you unless it's not replaced by something else. Who it's a tax on is the foreign governments, so they have to compete with us here in the United States. And then what companies do is, to avoid these tariffs, they then build their manufacturing here in the United States again to avoid those tariffs. And then what happens? All of a sudden, there's private sector jobs again. And then what happens when there's private sector jobs? Then you don't need the federal jobs anymore, and those start going away again. And now you have people that are producing products that are actually creating economy, and you're getting rid of the career useless people who created absolutely nothing. And thus taxes go down. And this is a very long process that's moving at a very fast rate, but the possibility that we could have no income tax again, and the federal government should be what it was supposed to be, is that you would virtually not know the government existed. Because the way that the federal government is supposed to work under our Constitution of the United States of America is that the people that you elect is supposed to run our federal government. not these unelected bureaucrats, all these alphabet soup agencies. We only used to have 4, and they used to not have very many power at all. Now we can't even get a straight number about how many there are. You get numbers like 650, 700, 500. What are they? How many alphabet agency soup letters there are? There is way too many. We could cut 90% of them, and none of you would miss a single moment of it. In fact, imagine we could just cut your taxes. I mean, that's where you'd really feel it. Imagine we just start chopping these all just down the line. We don't need this alphabet soup. We don't need this alphabet soup. We don't need this alphabet soup. They all go out the window, and then we cut your taxes. Okay, this one's gone, this one's gone, this one's gone. I mean, Doge could work 24/7. And think about how good that would be for you, the American people. You go to work, you'd make more money, you'd pay less taxes. That all sounds like a win to me, and that's why the Democrats have lost so much influence, as it's now being proved that's how it actually works in just 6 months. Imagine 1, 2, 5 years from now. As Donald Trump, as he continues to go and push forward with his policy, I want to put real quick on this one. So on the ones that can read the video side, this is from Time Magazine, and this was not too long ago. They wrote, Trump's tariffs make EU deal harder to achieve, the experts say. So there are the experts again lying to you about how tariffs interact with our country and with foreign countries. And of course, they were wrong again, because what happened this weekend? On Sunday, Trump announced a landmark trade deal that was made on the U.S. and EU, in which the European Union plans to purchase $750 billion worth of energy from the United States while Trump is in office. For a moment, I want to go back in the past to Trump's first term. How many of you remember when Trump went in front of the EU in his first term? And do you remember what he told the EU? Do you remember what he warned them about energy? When Trump said that if you keep cutting off your energy, you're going to become dependent on Russia. And Trump was right. All those EU commie bastards, they all laughed at Donald Trump. Like he didn't know what he was talking about. But he was right. And now they found out. As Russia invading Ukraine, and yet they all have to pretend that they're so noble and on Ukraine's side. At the same time, they have to keep that gas and that pump running from Russia into their countries. Well, now instead they have another choice. Now they can buy from the United States, the beacon of hope, the beacon of freedom. And now when they buy from the United States, you're now supporting actual freedom instead of a communist regime. It's a win-win for everybody. And it's also a huge win for the United States, is now we become more energy dominant as we gain all these deals in oil and in gas. As we make those deals, more money comes into our economy, just like the tariffs did. And it just keeps going and winning for the United States. Now the European Union is going to pay 15% and then sell us $600 billion in goods. So that leaves, according to this, a $90 billion profit for the United States of America. More winning. The European Union is a $20 trillion economy of 450 million people. The fact that the Union is this monster deal President Trump did, because this is the art of the deal again. They also agreed for the first time ever that they're going to cut all tariffs to the United States of America. And this was such a good deal for the United States that the European Union is absolutely freaking out, all because that they gave Trump everything he wanted and got nothing in return. The art of the deal. In fact, their former prime minister of France called this a submission. And he said, it's a dark day for an alliance of free people. Okay, Europe is locking people up for mean memes. This is not the free people. And we're going to talk about Starmer here in a little bit. Because his comments today is Trump just absolutely obliterated him. Was just comedy gold. The dark day alliance of people from the United for affirming the defense of interests resolves in submission. Yeah. because we are the superpower of the world. And now that we have Donald Trump, it's past time that we start acting like it. It's past time that we start flexing our muscles and we start putting America first. Because America is the greatest country this world has ever known. American exceptionalism is envied by everybody else in the world. It's why all the people try to come here legally or illegally, but no one who hates this country, you notice how they never actually leave, right? They want to bring communism here, but they never want to leave and go live in some communist hellhole for very good reason. They don't want to live under someone else's rule, but they want to use communism to take away your rights here in the United States, to take away your freedoms. And we had to stand up and we had to fight. And all of you, close to 80 million of you, voted for Donald Trump to save our country. And you voted for him to build the wall. You voted for him to deport every single illegal alien. You voted for him to use tariffs. You voted for him to bring manufacturing back to the United States. You voted for him to now start reducing our taxes, to make these deals the art of the deal. This is winning. We might never see another first 6 months again. It might have never happened in the history of this country, but it certainly hasn't happened in my lifetime. And even with all the fake news, even with all the Hollywood, even with all the Democrats screaming all the time, we still won over and over and over again. With that, we're well over a break, and we're going to come back. We talk a lot more about the EU and also how this horrible story that happened in Cincinnati has this mob, this hatred, beating of people because of the color of their skin. And the reason why you probably haven't heard of it is because of whose skin was which colors. We're going to cover that and the Democrats' meltdown and a whole lot more after this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload. Then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the Cash Loren Show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks on addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider it and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to Locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Welcome back, everybody. This is the CASHLOREN Show. We have been showing how the Democrats are panicking and the fake news networks have been lying to you for such a long time, and yet Donald Trump stood, fought, and won. And now he is showing what happens when you put America first. As everything that the fake news networks and their so-called experts told you was going to happen has backfired in their face. And then they wonder why they have no influence left. Whether it be their egg hoaxes or the stock market crashing or how the economy was going to crash or how people didn't want deportations or how bad the building the wall was going to be or how tariffs were going to cause a major recession and be a huge tax on the American people. But all of that was a lie. And as time has shown, as tariff money comes in, to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars. And then Donald Trump actually is becoming more popular, not less popular. And then the Democrats, their ratings are just tanking, and they continue to double down the same things that caused them to lose all their influence in the first place. As this liberal leftist elitism, they just can't accept that people don't want the Democrats to rule over them. As Donald Trump has won and as he has fought and as he completely just manhandled the commies in the European Union this weekend, forcing them to bend the knee and to be subservient to the United States in a way that they made the trade deals that the United States of America wanted. As they gave, according to them, the United States got everything that we wanted, and the European Union got absolutely nothing. The White House posted today in their press conference that the EU will invest over $600 billion in the United States of America. And then they will also purchase $750 billion of American energy. And then they will open their markets to United States products. Promises made, promises kept. And as the fake news, as they try to cover and lie for the Democrats, because they are propagandists for the DNC. There is not a single journalistic bone in their body whatsoever. And they lied and they talked about how Donald Trump was going and playing golf. See, that's the partial truth. But then they marry it to a lie of what else he was doing, as he was securing all these deals for the United States. And it wasn't just trade deals. As he with the Prime Minister of Thailand in Cambodia, in that he is pleased to announce that they have both agreed to reach a ceasefire and peace, as Donald Trump has ended another war. Promises made and promises kept. And we are just now getting started, only 6 months into all this winning. And he completely, when he was over there today, completely embarrassed Stammer today. I mean, the UK commie was absolutely just out of his touch. I mean, normally when you're hosting a different world leader in your country, you expect to have home turf, right? You go, you lead, you do the conferences, right? You choose where everything goes, right? You have it planned out. But that's not the way it went at all. In fact, Donald Trump went over there and he inserted American dominance right from the get-go, and he didn't even hold back for a single second. As he right to Stammer's face, right in front of the press. He's talking about the London mayor, again, another commie Marxist that is Muslim. So essentially the same person, the same type of person, like Zoran Mandani, that they're trying to take in charge of New York. And he said the London mayor, Sir Sarek Khan, is a nasty, he said POS, right to the reporters and right to Stammer's face. Oh, you just gotta love Trump. He couldn't care less about political norms. He's so amazing. And he, of course, responded, Summer, but he's my bro. Please speak fondly of him in public. And Donald Trump is having absolutely none of it. I don't care. He is a nasty POS. He is a terrible job. Oh my gosh, Trump is an absolute legend, not holding back one bit. I mean, be honest. Is this what you voted for? Did you want your leader to probably be like what Joe Biden or what Kamala Harris would be doing? As they be bending over to the EU right now, giving them everything they wanted and doing no deals for America? Or maybe you want like a Barack Hussein Obama who goes over to Saudi Arabia and immediately bends the knee? Or do you want a president like Donald J. Trump, who walks up, puts America first, stands proud for the United States of America, proud for everything that this country has accomplished, proud of all of our exceptionalism, proud of all the great things that the United States has done for this world. And part of the fruits of all that labor is we get to be the superpower of the world, and we then get to dictate terms if we so choose, if we have a leader like Donald J. Trump who is willing to do so. And now we finally do. And then he wasn't done with them yet, as the minister claims that they have free speech that is alive and well in UK. How do these people look straight at a camera and lie like that? I mean, every day the UK is locking people up for mean memes that the government doesn't like, that violate their hate speech laws. Yet, when Donald Trump points it out, Stammer immediately lies about, oh yeah, we love free speech in the UK. No, he doesn't. Not for a single second. Okay, the UK was also part that they were trying to use those UK courts and those UK laws to bully companies like X, saying like if X wants to operate in Europe, then they have to put all of Europe's hate laws and hate speech laws, even like here in the United States of America. We fought and we won. No more of any of that garbage whatsoever. Now, also, as we have fights to win on the foreign policy, we also have fights that we need to win here in the United States of America to make merit and equality great again. And part of doing that is ending the Democrats' racism. As the Democrats, their whole entire worldview is based on this racist ideology of separating people by the color of their skin. It's just repackaged Marxism. As normally Marxism would be a class-based, the haves and have-nots, the landowners and the ones who don't own land, right? The royalty and the peasants. Well, that doesn't work here in the United States because there's far too much opportunity and there's far too much wealth. So then, especially under Barack Hussein Obama, the Democrats came up with a brand new plan. Let's make it all about racism. So what do they decide to do is they try to separate people into two clocks, just like the Marxists always do, divide and conquer. So you had all the people who were white, and then you had all the people who were people of color. And the whites were bad because of the color of their skin, but all the people of color were good because they were not white. The one issue with Marxism, of very many of them, but the one that immediately glares out is how do they know someone's going to be good or evil based on the color of their skin or based on owning land or not owning land? Or once you take it over, how do you know the people that are going to take over either the government are going to be so good and noble? In fact, where's a single example of it where socialism and communism has been tried? There isn't a one. Every single place where socialism and communism takes over, people die to the tunes of hundreds of millions of people. In fact, communism has killed more people than all the world wars combined. But that's something they never, ever want to talk about. Well, this brings us into the story that happened over in Cincinnati. Is that these people who attacked another set of people, all because of the color of their skin. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this all over the mainstream media, haven't you? I mean, this was a racist attack based on people and based on the color of their skin. Isn't this what the Democrats and their fake news party and their fake news networks, isn't this exactly what they love to run 24/7? I mean, you had a hate crime, right? You had people of one skin color beating up people because of their skin color. So I'm sure the CNN is running 24/7 stories. No? Well, what about MSNBC? I mean, MSNBC must be covering this 24/7, right? No, not a peep from there either. Well, that's weird. What about New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post? How come they aren't writing articles over and over and over again about the violence that happened this weekend? Oh, I know why. See, because of Marxism. What happened was people who were black beat up people because they were white. And they cheered it on and they laughed at it. And because I don't really want to get the show flagged because for brutality and violence and how bloody and rough this was, I'm not going to play the clips. But you can see them all over the internet for what they did to these people for no other reason than because of the color of their skin. See, I thought racism was wrong. I thought the one thing that we could all agree on, that no one should have to suffer because of the color of their skin. I mean, aren't we supposed to have equality? I thought equity was bad. Or I thought merit was good. I thought we were all supposed to agree like on my side of the fence, where it doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. What matters is what you're doing now, who you are as a person. Because I know for me, I couldn't care less what color your skin is. What I care about is the content of your character. What kind of person are you on the inside? What's your heart like? What's your soul like? Are you good to other people? Or are you like these ones who beat up others because they're the wrong color of skin, because the left has lied to them for such a long time that they believe the racist lies of the left, that they're being oppressed because of the color of their skin. So therefore, because they're being oppressed, see, this is standard Marxism, then that justifies any acts of violence they do to the other side. The Democrats haven't come up with anything new here. This is nothing different than what has always been through Marxism. Is one side has a fake moral outrage, and then that fake moral outrage that then justifies any act of violence against the other targeted side. And let's see, for some reason, trying to get up, there it goes. You give me just a second here. Is every once in a while, I don't know why TikTok does that. Maybe I need to move my hands more on screen or something so it can say I'm moving. But it will, every once in a while, it will come up and it'll just like go dark. So it's closing down in 5 minutes unless I put a little piece of the puzzle piece or something in there. So I don't know. Maybe I need to focus more, move my hands so that whatever's looking back can see that I'm here and I'm talking. But we got distracted on that as I had to keep the show going for you over on TikTok over there. And again, as all of you continue to rise on, appreciate all of you for being here. So we're talking about how racist the left is and how they justified people being beat up because they were white by people who were black. And of course, the people on the fake news networks, all the so-called journalists that are really nothing more than activists for the Democrat Party, they were perfectly fine with just ignoring this case. In fact, as far as I can tell, they weren't even going to arrest them. I mean, this is what happens when you have wokeness taking over these big cities. And you have these Soros-backed DAs that refuse to enforce the laws based off the color of someone's skin. Now, these 4 different suspects at this jazz festival, they were ID'd. And eventually, initially, nothing was going to happen. And this wasn't until AG Dillon got involved and put them all on blast. And then the internet got involved and made a huge, loud noise about this. See, this is what we have to do. This is why, like fake news and the Democrats, why they keep talking about misinformation and disinformation and hate speech. So they don't believe or care about any of that at all. What they care about is when they say misinformation and disinformation, what they really mean is silencing speech that they don't want you to hear. Like they don't want you to know the story about these 4 black people who beat up white people because of the color of their skin. See, these are when the facts don't fit the narrative, and so they try to silence the story. But now, thanks to the rise of independent creators, we can now talk about it, and we can now expose it for what it really is. And even JD Vance got involved with it this morning. And what he said, which is also true, that we don't have all the facts yet, right? We see the little clips, and I always say this, just step back for a moment and then see what happens. But from what we can tell, I think a lot of it is very obvious about what happened. And we'll see more comes out in the future. If it does, we'll cover it. But what he said, and what I 100% agree with, is we have to make cities safe again. The only way to destroy the street violence is to take out these thugs and lock up these criminals. I 100% agree with JD Vance. This is the difference between our side on the right and the Democrats on the left. As the Democrats, they keep releasing these violent criminals back on the streets. And then surprise, 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 these violent criminals, what do they do over and over again? They commit more crimes over and over and over again, instead of locking them up and making your streets safe. We had a sheriff share a stat a while back where he was talking about murder. And he said, on average, the person, by the time they commit murder, they have been arrested 17 times. 17. So a vast majority of murders could be stopped if someone was removed from society all the way up to their 16th assault or crime arrest, whatever they were arrested for. Just imagine like 3 strike rules. And of course, the other side of that is we need to get rid of all this crime. We also need to make the nuclear family great again. And we will cover that here really quick. So I got to get through this as we go through, and we're way past a break as my clock is screaming at me. Now, Cincinnati police have done the 4 people, and that they had, now they've done 5, they found 5, and now they have been arrested thanks to pressure by our attorney general and to you, the internet, who now has a lot more influence than the fake news networks, because they didn't, right? The fake news networks would ignore this. Nobody would know about it, and nothing would happen to these people. And now we have to keep this pressure up, because if we don't, then they're just going to release them again, right? As soon as the news goes down. And Pam and hopefully Dylan and the AGs, they stay on top of this, and we stay on top of this, so they can't just walk away from this. And then we also have a really funny, we're going to talk about tariffs, and this is Bill Maher. Now, Bill Maher is a rabid leftist and a Trump hater, but he actually had to admit that Trump was winning, and the reasons why are amazing, because he is actually speaking sense. Somebody on the left, and when you have to give credit due to Bill Maher, you have to give credit due. We're going to play that clip and talk about it and a whole lot more after we come back from this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, TRexPets.com is your home for your animals' needs, from their food to their toys to any other accessories. You can find it all over at TRexPets.com. Stop giving your money to these woke box stores who don't care about your values and push all this woke nonsense garbage. Enough is enough. Over at TRexPets.com, they are America First, conservative, loving family, guaranteed to be woke free. That is over at TRexPets.com. Go there today, sign up, and with your $50 purchase, you'll receive a free gift with your order. That is over at TRexPets.com. Put your money where your values are, guaranteed to be woke free, unlike these giant big box stores that put America last. Go to TRexPetStores.com right now and buy your dog food, your cat food, and other supplies. Head over right now over at TRexPets.com. That is T-Rex.com. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the Cash Loren show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Well, the FBI is now getting involved in what happened in Cincinnati over this weekend, as we had a race crime where these people who were black beat up people because they were white, as it looks so far from the facts. As more will come out, I'm sure, in the near future. And one of the things we're talking about right from the get-go is how it has been with these Soros AGs, how they will just let people go based on either the color of skin or some kind of equity. And then the fake news networks, they will not cover stories if it doesn't fit the narrative that they want to push. We also had a shooter happen here in New York. And of course, fake news, what do they immediately do? They said it's probably white, right? It's likely white. Is they're trying to make all crime lying about white people who are committing it. And now as we're getting more and more photos coming out, it actually looks like the guy's Middle Eastern. And I hope that it looks like employees barricade themselves in. It sounds like a police officer who was on guard there, or a security guard, lost his life. And we're praying for him and his family. This is tragic. But fake news, when they ignore the stories they don't want to hear, then lie to you about the other stories to try to get you to come to conclusions. This is why they're dying. And this is why the independent creators are growing at such a rapid rate. And it's even people like Bill Maher has to admit how much things have changed here in the United States as the media has changed over to independent creators. And not just that, but how wrong the media was. See, the media, who we call like the leftist elite, they have not one journalistic bone in their entire body. And for that reason, they're all happy to push propaganda for the Democrats. This also hurts them because they only talk to each other in the little leftist elitist bubbles. And so they look at each other and they go, I hate Donald Trump. And the other one goes, well, I hate Donald Trump. And they go, well, terrorists are bad. And they go, yeah, tariffs are bad. And so if you hate tariffs and I hate tariffs and Donald Trump is so bad, and they spew that crap to each other over and over and over and over again. So they start with that mindset, and then they look for the stories that fit that mindset, and they tell those stories, and then they ignore the parts that don't fit those stories. And then they want to say how bad tariffs are going to be. So they look for the experts who are going to say, as I say, quote unquote experts, very loosely, who will tell them what they want to hear. And then they'll put them on TV and they get the 3 minutes in the spotlight to talk about how bad tariffs are going to be. Even the rhinos like Rand Paul or Thomas Macy. But they were all wrong again. And rather than admit it, they keep doubling down on what has made them so unpopular here in the first place. So now you have Bill Maher who steps up, and he is actually making some sense. Now, I don't agree with Bill Maher probably in just about anything. But when he actually talks some sense, because the thing about Bill Maher is he would be what you consider like your normal leftist, right? Your old school Democrat, right? Kind of the more like you think of like the JFK kind of Democrats before the Obamas of the world came up. And he admits, surprisingly, that Donald Trump was right. And the reasons he gives and the warnings that he's trying to give to his party are what we have been saying this whole time, but we're called the racists for. So let's talk about this clip.
I, along with probably most people, were saying at the beginning, oh, you know, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me. But before we get in that part, the but is that they only talk to each other. And so it amplifies it to such a large volume that they don't realize that one, they're in the minority, but two, that they're also wrong. It's because the fake news only talks to each other, because all the Democrats repeat the same talking points, because all the experts say all the things that they want to hear. It then sounds like this big, huge sign of consensus when it is not a consensus. It's a very small group of people who have been wrong on every single subject. And then when we stay and we fight back and we win, and then all of a sudden they're shocked. But unlike what Bill Maher does here, is normally what the left will do is they'll just move on to the next hoax. And then we'll wonder why no one listens to them. But Bill Maher actually comes back and says, hey, you know what? We were wrong. that didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty.
Hey, what have we been saying this entire time? Right from the get-go, what have we been saying about, well, exactly what Bill Maher is saying, about talking about these leftist elitist bubbles and these liberal elites that are high above you in their high library towers. How they're so smug and they're so arrogant that they don't realize that most of the country doesn't think like them and doesn't agree with them. But because they shut everybody out, see, this is the poison of the left, is that one, they're all sheep. They're all 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So because they only talk to each other, then they don't realize that most people don't agree with them when the voices are 100% what they want to hear. And then on the other side, if you don't agree with them, they then push you out of their bubble. And that, of course, then makes them even smaller, but then they get more elitist because then they're only talking to each other again. And he is 100% right here. I mean, I can't believe that I'm saying that I agree with Bill Maher, but I do agree with Bill Maher here, right? Hating Trump has done the Democrats no favors. And kicking everybody out of their party that doesn't agree with the most extreme, most violent, most communist of the Democrat Party has also done them no favors. As some will say they got 17 or 19%, they're probably much, much lower than that. And then Bill Maher also being 100% correct, saying how they need to face reality. Well, of course, we know the Democrats will never face reality. They will lie to you and they will lie to themselves. Because for the Democrats, they don't think like Bill Maher is thinking here. The only thing they think about and the only thing they care about is power. And because they've warped their minds with Marxism, they think that anything that they do justifies that pursuit of power because they are morally right.
Because the truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
100%. See, the experts were wrong again, and we were right again. These experts, they are not experts at all. They are Democrat activists. This whole thing, which I call the three-headed beast from the DC abyss. The one head being the fake news networks, the one head being the Democrats and the Rhino Uniparty, and then the other head being the deep state. So the deep state, these so-called Ivy League career useless people who usually have never achieved anything other than being in government and taking away your power and your rule. And they think that they are born to rule over you. And they don't think that the people that you elected, the politicians, should have the final say. See, this is up to the experts, the deep state officials, the ones that have Ivy League degrees and fancy letters next to their names. But they have failed their entire lives, and they have been wrong their entire lives. And finally, that illusion, because Trump came back, is being smashed. And then you have the second head, the Democrats and the Rhino Uniparty, who are more than happy to give away all of their power and all of their rights over to the deep state so they don't have to take any risk. And then the deep state writes all the laws. They just sign them. They grow. The beast grows bigger. Everybody gets richer except for you, the American people. And then DC is happy. And then finally, the fake news networks, who are more than happy to lie for the Democrats and for the deep state. Yet now everything has changed because we have independent creators. That is what threw the wrench in this entire thing. And there's many bits and pieces to that, but that is ultimately what happened. When Elon purchased X and switched Twitter 1.0 over to X and actually gave free speech, what it's supposed to be is you go and you say what you want to say. And people can research it, people can choose to believe it, or they can choose not to believe it. But for the longest time, we only had the ability to listen to the fake news networks. They were the only ones that had the large microphones. And so most people didn't realize that they were lying to them. Bald face lying to them. And now we expose that fake news has lost all their influence. They can no longer swing elections. And they can no longer swing opinions. The one thing that the Democrats relied on is gone. The other thing that they, of course, would rely on is the deep state to run the federal government for them. And that is also getting defunded and put away too. Good. As we continue to win. So let's see, we got a minute left. I got this really funny story. So we got a minute we can cover before we end the men's show. And then we'll go back over and we're doing a TikTok and Spaces exclusive. And this one came out, this is from NBC News. And there is so much woke mind virus in a single article here. So I'm just going to read the headline and let you make of it what you will. An elderly Seattle cat suffers terror from Blue Angels, a feline's owner says in a lawsuit. So according to this person who owns a cat, they want to sue because they say the cat received terror from Blue Angels flying over. So I guess What, no more Blue Angels for this poor little kitty? What, just sheer, this has got to be the dumbest story I've ever read. And that's a pretty low bar. But for this, the final days of the cat were spent in terror due to a flyover of Blue Angels. This is coming from the article over at NBC News. And the leaders blocked the feline's human mother on social media as a cowardly censorship. Again, that's not censorship. She's still free to run her mouth. They don't have to listen. Now, the cat was 14 years old, and it was already battling heart disease. So maybe it was, I don't know, the heart disease that killed it. Or maybe if you're so concerned about your cat and it's so precious to you and you're afraid that like Blue Angels, maybe you leave town for that weekend. Maybe go to relatives, maybe go stay in a hotel. Why does everybody else not to get to enjoy the air show because of your stupid cat? Go somewhere else. Like my dog hates fireworks, scares him to death. So what do? I stay home with my dog and I play music or something to help them settle down. I don't take them out to a fireworks show and then sue the fireworks show and demand that they no longer have fireworks anymore because of my dog. This is incredibly retarded. Well, with that, we're over on time on the main show. Appreciate every single one of you. We're going to end the main show, and when we come back, we're going to go exclusively on TikTok. And if you want to come up, you want to join us over on TikTok, raise your hand. I'll bring you up. We'll cover a couple more stories, and we'll go for as long as we can go for. So we'll see you again tomorrow on the main show. This is the Cash Loren Show. Be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Well, independent thinkers, we have come to the top of another hour. The rest of the stories will have to go back in the stack. If you enjoyed this content, take a moment, hit the subscribe, turn on notifications. Most importantly, share a conservative message with your friends and family. We will be back Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Cash Loren Show. We will go and we will expose and fight the fake news networks who have been getting away with lying to you for decades. Our content will always be free, but if you'd like to support more, you can do so monetarily over at locals at the Cash Loren Show. And there's great rewards and benefits for doing so. For only about a cup of coffee a month, you will receive exclusive articles and you'll have your name at the end of the video, just like these other fine patriots have. If that sounds interesting to you, go over to locals right now for just a cup of coffee a month and help independent creators stay free, keep the lights on, and continue to expose the fake news networks. We'll see you again on the next episode. This is the Cash Loren Show.